What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk all major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much more. I'm your host Chris, and yeah, you should be expecting to see lots of new TV spot trailers for this movie over the next few weeks. The question's still out whether or not we're going to be getting a final trailer, which will be 2 to 3 minutes long, and give us new information about the plot as we prepare to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. However, today there was something very special hidden in the trailer, well, arguably hidden in the trailer, and we're going to discuss whether or not we got our first look or first tease at who really is behind all of the madness. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on that notification bell, and you can check me out on other socials: Instagram at Chris M. Rosser, Twitter at TheCultureChris, and my Discord and links to those other channels are down below. So the specific topic of discussion is whether or not we got our first look at the big bad behind everything happening in this movie. Now, it wouldn't be much of a first look, and it would be mostly Marvel trying to tease us a little bit. They know we're going to find every detail of the trailers. They're way ahead of the curve on that. However, there was, in one of the more recent TV spot trailers that came out, an apparent face underneath the logo for Marvel Studios. Many fans, including myself, believe that this could be a hint at the big bad behind Wanda, and although I still believe Wanda will be the, quotes, big bad of this film, many people, including myself, also believe that there might be something behind her, pushing her towards this insanity and this evil. And I'm gonna stick with the word evil for Wanda. It's not simply, oh, Wanda's just really trying to get to her kids. We're gonna be seeing an evil Wanda, a Wanda who is willing to do anything to get to what she believes is her kids at the very end. Now, this includes, from plot leaks and now from images that we've seen in trailers, absolutely destroying the Illuminati, the council that we saw during the first big trailer for Doctor Strange 2, including Professor X. The other members of this council will also all be just completely eliminated by Wanda, and this was a rumor that was going out for quite some time before we even officially knew that the Illuminati was going to be in the movie. So we've heard this rumor for a long time, and now we know and have seen, especially in the most recent TV spot where Wanda is destroying an Ultron bot with her magic, and in other trailers where we've seen her covered in blood, fighting mysterious figures at the Illuminati headquarters. So many other details that she's gonna be bad, she's gonna be evil, and many things she does are going to be hard to forgive. At least by the people inside of the MCU. The fans, of course, we're all ready to root for her regardless of what she does. It sounds like whether she's the bad guy or not, we're all rooting for Wanda. We all love Wanda, and that's completely fine. I also don't believe that Wanda is going to be ending a bad guy. I think towards the end, she's either going to snap out of her own trance that she's put herself in, the thirst for having her children, and the knowledge of the power she has in order to make that happen, or whether or not she is actually possessed by a Cthun, a nightmare, a Mephisto, or just the Darkhold itself, depending on how Marvel and Disney decide to go with this. But let's talk about this little face, because those are really the options, and you can see it very clearly here underneath the L and the S, 2 eyes, and a big smile. It kind of looks like Chester the Cat from Alice in Wonderland when you see his face before you see his body, and then his body kind of appears behind it. Now, the big question everybody's asking is this the secret big bad behind Wanda that could be causing her to go into this mass destruction? But we can talk about each individual character, and if you don't know much about them, which some of these characters are a little bit less well known, you can get a little quick brief introduction to them. Cthun is one we've been talking about a lot recently, as many people believe that we did see him in the trailer, although I personally don't believe that this is the case. I think that these are some random demons, for the fact that 1, there are 2 of them here, and 2, I just don't feel like that is going to be the reveal for a character of this level. The person behind all of the chaos going on in the Multiverse of Madness isn't going to just randomly show up in a TV spot without any explanation, especially when Marvel knows we're going to sit here dissecting every single trailer. If we do see a character of this level before the movie comes out, it would be in a final trailer, and there would be some explanation. They would say a name, and then we would see a shadow, or they would show its face while they say its name, and they'd want people who aren't necessarily as privy to all of the details to get some information behind what is happening. But for those of you who don't know, Cthun is an elder god and the god of chaos. He's from thousands and thousands of years before everything starts to happen in the Marvel comics. At some point, him and several other elder gods ruled the world, but some of them turned on each other and started to kill each other or to bind each other in different types of relics, and then Cthun managed to escape. He binds himself in a book known as the Darkhold, sounds familiar, and in the comics several separate times he manages to be released from it by people using the Darkhold. One time specifically and in particular, Wanda. And he uses Wanda, manipulates Wanda, and kind of confuses and warps her mind in order to make her believe that she is actually in control of all of this magic, when really it is just Cthun trying to reappear and make his way into the real world from the dark dimension that he possesses. So very interesting, and maybe one of the most comic book accurate releases for a character who might be showing up. However, like I mentioned, this is a movie for everybody, not just deep diving Marvel fans, people who know the story and all the fun, crazy stuff going on behind the scenes. There are also people who are a little bit more casual viewers, and something like this, unless it is explained extremely well, or there's a purpose moving forward beyond this film, could be a little bit too much for a casual viewer to watch and enjoy, as it is a lot of information to retain, and we already know this movie is going to be only just over 2 hours long. And with all the rumored cameos, the insane fighting sequences, and trying to just explain the multiverse, adding an entire new Elder God character could be a lot to handle. The next candidate, and actually my vote for most likely, is Nightmare, and although he has less of a comic book base to show up than maybe Cthun, I think he is more of an MCU base. First off, originally, Nightmare was 100% going to be the villain of Doctor Strange 2. A lot has changed since then. Multiverse of Madness is a completely different movie than what we were originally expecting to get with Doctor Strange 2. But Nightmare is a character that has been referenced a few times now in the trailer, both by Doctor Strange and Wanda, who say they're having these nightmares when they wake up. Now, this falls right into the realm of Nightmare, and what he might be trying to do. It's very possible, and we have to keep in mind that Marvel might change things. The question and the jury are still out whether or not Marvel wants to introduce a devil-like demon, who is next with Mephisto, and almost very similar with Cthun. However, Nightmare isn't quite devilish. Although he is sinister, evil, and definitely creepy, he is not a devilish, demonic type individual. Now, Marvel Studios and Disney might be trying to avoid the exact replication of almost a devil on screen, but if they combine the story of Cthun or Mephisto all into one, making Cthun, Nightmare, and Mephisto this dark force that comes from the Darkhold, and calling it just Nightmare, this could be a direction that Marvel's trying to go to make it, one, less complicated, two, a little bit more appropriate, since Disney, although they are making darker tones and scarier rated R kind of stuff, they aren't necessarily ready to just throw devils on the screen. Also, since we know that this is a darker, horror-based, not a horror film, but horror-based film, Nightmare would also fit very perfectly, as he has that ability to haunt, to attack, and to cause people actual insanity through their psyche, through their dreams, and through visions. So this could be a really cool character to introduce, and I personally like the idea of maybe taking a little bit of Mephisto, a little bit of Cthun, and creating Nightmare from that story, because Marvel doesn't have to, nor do they usually follow copy and paste from the comics. So they can take inspiration from these three characters and make one super terrible character that might be behind the scenes controlling Wanda, and whether they reveal them in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness briefly, or Wanda goes on and fights them all out at the very end of the movie, it'll be a really cool introduction for that character. Now the last one, if you were watching YouTube videos back during the WandaVision days, you will not be a stranger to, and it's Mephisto. There were a ton of different hints, and of course YouTuber theories and scooper theories that Mephisto was going to be involved in WandaVision. Now again, from the comics, his storyline would have matched up beautifully. Mephisto actually uses shards of his own body to create Wanda's kids, who she doesn't have naturally, just like in WandaVision, and he uses these shards to bring himself back to the real world, to the universe where everybody exists. It's a very interesting and intense storyline, and Agatha Harkness is involved in it just like she was in WandaVision, and Wanda creating her own reality is also a part of a very similar comic. So we're definitely seeing some similarities here, but WandaVision never actually showed us that Mephisto was behind anything. And the Darkhold was introduced, the children were introduced, Agatha Harkness was introduced, so a lot of interesting storylines that come from that, but none of them actually brought fruit of Mephisto. Now a lot of people are still hopeful that Mephisto will be the big bad behind, because that would be a direct leap from Mephisto to Midnight Suns, which would include Doctor Strange, Deadpool, Moon Knight, Blade, the Black Knight, other characters that are headed down this darker MCU path. And certainly would be a lot of fun to get the monster hunters and demon slayers of the MCU in order and creating the big group. However, much like with Cthun, this is a almost devil-like character. In fact, Mephisto basically is the devil of the MCU. And I stand by the same. I don't know if Disney and Marvel are ready to bring the devil to the big screen yet, knowing that children watch this, knowing that traditionally Disney has been very family friendly, and although, exactly like with Cthun, they are introducing darker, maybe more graphic, violent type of characters, I just don't think they're ready to step straight into, hey guys, here's the devil. So out of all three of these, in my own personal brain and based off of my logic and knowledge of what Marvel's trying to do, Nightmare, maybe adapting some of the stories of these guys is more likely. And it would be a really cool story to continue on. We were expecting to see Nightmare as a villain of the second Doctor Strange anyways, and it would be fun to have him in the background. I don't necessarily want to see Wanda defeat him, but it would be nice to see Wanda maybe realize that he's there, realize that he's manipulating her, and her children actually are not obtainable. After all of that, she doesn't end up with her kids, she snaps out of her psyche rage, and now we know that Nightmare is in the background and needs to be defeated. Potentially for a WandaVision Season 2, or maybe a Scarlet Witch solo film, but it would be really fun to see her hunt down Nightmare to get her revenge. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Number 1, who do you think will be the big bad behind Wanda, or do you think it is just Wanda? Number 2, do you think that this face, or this seeming face, is something that we are seeing as a tease for these characters, or are we all just really desperate to see something in these trailers? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, thank you to everybody who watched to the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, or interesting, consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you guys all in the next one right here on Cosmic Culture.